What's new? So you are taking apart from this?
First class is history and second class is
GS.
not GS, NCRT.
Oh, okay. NCRT you are taking. History from?
I remember the sir's name, but he's new.
Got it. And Pratik sir is teaching you economics.
Economics is very Nishant sir.
Oh, okay. Got it. कैसे चल रहा है? How are you, Srinidhi बच्चे?
I'm fine, ma'am. Thank you.
Did you watch the recording?
I have not completed the recording.
Okay.
I will complete it
Saptarishi.
today.
Okay. Saptarishi.
Yes, sir. I am fine.
Okay. So today we are going to discuss about moral argument. Srinidhi, are you like simultaneously doing ethics also?
No, ma'am. Up till now, I have not completed it.
Okay. And Saptarishi, what about you? Did you complete ethics?
I have, yes, ma'am. I have completed ethics in class, although I have to practice it more. But yes, the syllabus in class I have completed.
Okay. Chalo. So today we are going to understand about the moral argument. Okay. How will you define moral?
When we try to decode the word moral is something to just distinguish between the right from wrong.
Okay, something which helps in distinguish between right and wrong. How will you define right and wrong?
Depends upon the context of somebody.
Like it varies person to person. Huh? ठीक है. So if it varies, so how do we like, approach to a standard version of right and wrong?
Like for example, when you walk on road,
Hmm.
we find a 2,000 rupee note or 500 rupee note
Hmm.
currency.
Hmm.
So when nobody is looking at you,
Hmm.
and at that time something kicks from inside you.
Hmm.
A voice tells that let it be, and the other voice tells that take it and hand over it to the person, the owner, basically.
बिल्कुल.
So that one which tells us to do good, that one we classify as good.
ठीक है.
Thing which tells us to hand over it to the owner,
हाँ.
take it and hand over it.
But if that person is in need, उसमें फिर उसके बाद क्या करोगे? And that person hands over to the owner, then what? Then these are the kinds of dilemma that you are going to see in case studies. ठीक है? Ethics की case studies में. ठीक है? Okay. Yes, Srinidhi. How will you define moral?
Ma'am, everyone has some balance between right and wrong. Everyone has a sense of what is right and what is wrong. And this will define their personal morality. It is for everyone, but I think this is for every person.
Okay. Saptarishi.
Yes, sir. So morality basically means that what is the belief of any person about what is right and what is wrong. So morality is very much subjective in nature and it varies person to person. So morality for any person can be different from morality for other person. So understand this is the basic idea what this person's view on what is right and what is wrong regarding his duties and whatever he want to do.
Okay. Do you believe in this idea that sometimes these morals are naturally right and wrong? Do you believe in this statement that they naturally are right and wrong, not because we think or you think or this society thinks, they are naturally right or wrong?
It's a collective reason.
Uh,
Yes, ma'am. I believe that there are some things that are universally right and universally wrong.
Okay. But if we are like talking about this universally, is there a single thing which we can like justify and we can call that this right basically is universally right? Anything which basically have a basic standard that it have to be right or it have to be like wrong only, and it is like universally accepted.
According to me, if we give something in
Mm.
donation,
Mm.
that is basically good because it's helping the taker.
Hmm.
Easily.
But behind that, there is this selfishness that is included. What about that?
That is
We
what we
want
call
something in
expectation.
return. So don't you think it is also wrong? It is considered wrong. If you are basically giving something, donating something, right? And behind the reason behind that is because you want to have something in return. ठीक है? चाहे वो wishing ही क्यों ना हो, right? या फिर वो basically God से कुछ ना हो, that is also considered to be selfish, right? तो उसको अच्छा कैसे बोलोगे? How is it morally right? Right? उसे भी गलत ही माना जाता है.
Donation expectation is quite right.
Do you believe donation without expectation exists? बोल रहे मैं तो करता हूँ. Do you think so?
Maybe it might be existing.
Okay, in some cases it might be. ठीक है. Yes, Srinidhi, but do you want to say something to this?
No, ma'am. My question is why, if intention is good or bad, why does it even matter?
It
The
matters.
act of donation,
Hmm.
the act of donation is good. It is causing some good, good for some people. It is helping some people. Why does the intention matter as well?
Because psychology and so philosophy basically talks about when your this intention, this selfishness is basically built in you, right? Then your further actions totally depends on that, right? So there is a cycle to it. So that is why it matters. If you are doing something, if you are donating something, right, because of your greed or because of your selfish behavior, then like it will be there in your future actions. It will be there.
Ma'am, if at this point I consider selflessness as evil, not selfishness. I think selflessness, true selflessness, causes much harm in our society.
Do you agree to this?
Actually.
How?
Because these days, a person without any selfless a person without selfishness is interpreted as to be foolish.
Hmm.
So what he does, he does donates all of his properties and all without even considering the consequences, what is behind and all. So that is mere foolishness. And that might lead to some major consequences in his life. Or
ठीक है. Okay. Now we talk about moral argument. So it tries to prove the existence of God by, human morality. How do you think they might have like proved it? कैसे prove किया होगा? Saptarishi.
Yes, ma'am. So we can say that as humans actually experience the morality as well as the duties or the moral laws that they want to believe in, like say telling to always truth, following right actions, helping others, these things. So in a sense, humans believe these things are a little bit universal in nature. I mean, in this case, these things should be followed by everyone. So in a sense, there are many moral laws and moral duties in our society. And to prove the existence of God, these philosophers or whoever is suggesting this moral argument, they are saying that there must be a supreme entity who is deciding this moral laws, because ultimately humans are imperfect and the laws made by them are also imperfect and they can't be universal in nature. So
Hmm.
as there are some moral laws and duties which are universal in nature, so there must be a perfect being who is actually making these moral laws. Who is the moral lawgiver? The God.
Okay. So when we talk about moral argument, so basically the idea is that human actually, naturally feels the same actions are right, and some actions are wrong, right? So there is a natural formation of these right and wrongness, right? So this sense of right and wrong suggests that there must be some moral laws, right? So it means these moral laws are existing. Okay, now why? Because universally we agree to it. यहाँ तक सब agree कर रहे हैं इस चीज पर? Everyone is agreeing to this, right? So now the next thing comes up that if there are moral laws, then there must be a moral lawgiver also, right? That's very natural, right? So this is how they basically comes to a decision that if we have this moral giver, right, or maker, right, then it means that basically maker is who? That maker is God we have. Okay. Now what basically it says that killing someone, right, it is universally considered wrong. Okay. अब there could be like justification or reason जो दे सकते हैं हम लोग, ठीक है, कि because we want to like save someone, there are plenty of reason, right? If we call about killing, right, universally it is considered wrong, ठीक है, हर एक society में, हर एक culture में it is considered wrong, right? Now when we talk about this moral law, right, this is like universally agreed, right? So what basically this is telling to us, that if this moral law is basically there, right, so it means there is a moral law giver also, and this moral law giver is we have God. ठीक है, समझ में आया यहाँ तक? आया समझ में श्रीनिधि?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what it says that human basically feel this moral obligation, right? What is moral obligation? The duty. What's the duty we are talking about here, Harsh?
Also good.
Okay, and this moral duty somewhere implies about the moral laws. ठीक है? Now, if this moral duty is implying about moral laws, right? So it means moral laws suggest what? That there is a lawgiver also. ठीक है? Now, if we have this lawgiver, then this proves that there could be like only lawgiver, and that is God we have. Okay, this is the chronology of this moral argument. Okay, समझ में आया? Understood? Now when we talk about moral duty, what it means, that feeling that we ought to do something because it is right, not because we are forced. Okay, we are basically doing it because it is right? No one is forcing me, you didn't tell me, right, that killing is wrong and then I'm following this, right? This is how it should be done, right? I know that it is wrong, this is why I'm following it, right? So there is a difference, right? This is what moral duty is. Okay, now this feeling only and only exists when nobody is watching, right, and there is no punishment and we gain nothing out from that act. Okay, then only we'll have this morality. Okay, kab when I'm not expecting anything, okay, and when no one is seeing me, right, I'm still following that activity. Okay, that will be considered as morality. Okay, moral duty. Understood till here? Okay, now there is an inner voice in us that is telling us to follow it. क्या होती है वो inner voice? Good. There is an inner voice in us that basically tells us to follow this, that is conscience. ठीक है, conscience क्या होता है?
Gut feeling.
Okay, so if we are talking about conscience, there is one more thing I would like to tell you, ताकि तुम्हारा ethics का एक बहुत बड़ा portion cover हो जाए. That is crisis of conscience. What is it, Srinidhi? क्या होता है crisis of conscience?
I do not know exactly, ma'am. Maybe some people may not feel conscience. They may do something wrong and still not feel guilt. That's
Okay,
right.
makes sense. Okay, Saptarishi.
Yes, ma'am. There are certain type of crisis of consciousness. Like in this case, what is right and what is wrong is become diluted with regarding the situation that we are in. There can be various ways of crisis of consciousness. Like there can be dilemma regarding. There can be crisis regarding partiality. There can be crisis regarding social obligation. Many things can be there. Like for example, someone is in a superior position in an organization and he has to give some work to someone, but he is giving the work to his relative. So in essence, this is a biasness toward his relative. So in essence, this is a crisis of consciousness. What should be the right approach and what is wrong approach? So this is an example how crisis of consciousness works.
Okay, जब हम लोग crisis of conscience की बात करते हैं, so crisis of conscience is when our action is going against what? Our moral or a morality. Okay, that is crisis of conscience. Okay, so this basically is the concept that you will often see in case studies. Okay, sometimes in case studies, not sometimes, like each and every time you'll face a situation where you have to act in a way that is going against your moral duty, right? Suppose you believe in something good, right, but your situation, your authority, or basically that act is basically asking you to go against your morality, right? जैसे कि हमारे पास में there are certain rules and regulations that are given to us by the government, right? कि आपको जो है रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस चेक कर ही बेसिकली राशन डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करना है, right? But now there is a particular case, there is a woman of 60 years old, right? Now she doesn't have that kind of document that basically government asked you to submit, right? But now you have to basically go against your action, right, against your morality, right? Why? Because you have to follow rules and regulations that are given by the government, right? तो ऐसी ऐसी situations you'll get to see in the case studies. ठीक है, समझ में आ गया crisis of conscience क्या है? ठीक है, अंडरस्टूड श्रीनिधि बच्चा?
Yes, ma'am.
ठीक है, so what exactly this moral argument says, that when nobody is watching, right? And when you are not afraid of any punishment, है ना, और उसके साथ साथ में you are not gaining anything from this act, right? तब उसको बोलते हैं हम लोग morality, right? And this comes from the inner voice, that is conscience, ठीक है? जैसे कि people usually believe that stealing is wrong, right? Lying is wrong, right? And harming innocent people is wrong, killing is wrong, right? So these feelings are not always taught by law, right? These feels are basically internally binding, right? They are coming from your inner side, है ना? So like you gave example of this wallet, ठीक है? Imagine that you find a wallet of money, right? And you have two options, या तो तुम पैसे रख लो या फिर क्या करो, वापस दे दो उस wallet को, right? Even if nobody is watching, ठीक है, तो many people will say कि ठीक है कोई नहीं देख रहा तो रख ले दो, right? But you know that that act will be considered wrong, right? तो उसे वापस दे दोगे, है ना? तो that will be considered as what? This will be the morality that we are talking about, ठीक है? Okay. Now when we talk about this structure, तो ह्यूमन एक्सपीरियंस व्हाट, दे एक्सपीरियंस मोरल ड्यूटी, है ना? फिर उसके बाद में मोरल ड्यूटीज क्या इंप्लाई करती है? वो इंप्लाई करती है मोरल लॉज, राइट? और ये लॉज कहाँ से आते हैं हमारे पास में? लॉ गिवर के पास में आते हैं, ठीक है? नाउ देयर मस्ट बी अ मोरल लॉ गिवर आल्सो, सो दैट वी हैव इज गॉड, ठीक है? तो ये चार स्टेप्स होते हैं हमारे मोरल आर्गुमेंट से, राइट? तो ये आर्गुमेंट में क्या दिखाते हैं? दैट मोरल इट्स मोरालिटी इटसेल्फ इज पॉइंटिंग टुवर्ड्स व्हाट? टुवर्ड्स द गॉड, ठीक है? समझ में आया यहाँ तक?
Yes.
Harshit, explain it.
Ma'am, so basically, we have discussed about the moral argument given by Immanuel Kant. So what he says is humans experience moral duty and moral laws. They supported this idea. So this suggests that there must be a moral lawgiver for every moral thing we do, and this morality comes from conscience, and this conscience is like the intuitiveness of one. So firstly, it includes the moral obligation, and then it implies to the moral laws, and finally we can conclude by this that there must be a lawgiver, moral lawgiver, and this moral lawgiver is termed to be God.
Okay. What is coming in your mind after like understanding this? Is it making sense?
As we discussed yesterday, when somebody talks about inward faith,
You cannot argue against it.
yes, we cannot oppose them, or like as you told, we just have to respect. So many people go by faith. So that's what I say.
So when it comes to moral argument, it can be like debated, है ना? ये argument based हो सकती है, right? Because as we said that it totally varies, right? About right and wrong, it totally varies, right? Some people can justify killing also, stealing also, lying also, right? So there is no end to this discussion, ठीक है? Okay. Yes, Shivani बच्चा.
Yes, ma'am, I have read a somewhat slightly different version of this moral argument only. What I have read is that same point, humans experience moral duty and moral law. Some things are universally accepted, so some universal moral law is there. And then morality means that good should be rewarded with good, virtue should be rewarded with good and or happiness, and bad people should be punished with some consequence. And if we see in our world, we do not see this happening. Sometimes virtue does not often match our happiness or sense of satisfaction in our society. So there must God must exist to maintain this morality, to balance this, to make this right. And our soul is immortal, so this happens. This balance is achieved through the immortality of soul. This is the argument I have read for this moral argument.
By whom it is given?
Immanuel Kant's argument only. I have.
We'll discuss
I was-
about Immanuel Kant. We'll discuss about him. There are apart from Kant, there are like three more philosophers we'll be discussing in moral argument. We only had basic idea that what exactly moral argument is. Then after this, we'll be understanding Kant's argument.
Yes, ma'am.
Bacha. Saptarishi.
Yes, sir. So we are just being introduced to the basic idea of moral argument, where we understand that as we live in a society or universe where morality is very much emphasized on, or there are some universal moral duties and laws that one should follow. So in a sense, humans actually experience some universally accepted moral duties and moral laws. This suggests a perfect being, the perfect lawgiver, that is God. humans have moral obligations or duties to fulfill, which actually leads to these moral laws, and which ultimately get us to this perfect lawgiver that is God. So, in a sense, humans have inner consciousness, which sometimes creates crisis of consciousness, and if we understand what is right and what is wrong and what should morality be, then we can get to the point where uh, we can understand what this moral argument is. So in essence, we are understanding this morality of, according to Immanuel Kant, who actually said one should follow the rules and regulations set by the society in which one lives in. Basically, we should not follow rules and regulation out of burden. We should follow them because it is our duty to do so. I mean, the rules without any burden, using our own rationality, we should follow this morality and rules and duties for the betterment of society. And in this, I think he gave three maxims. One was the maxim of universality, one was maxim of humanity, and one was maxim of ends. These three maxims was given by Immanuel Kant.
Okay. Now, anything else that you want to discuss in this? कुछ दिमाग में आ रहा हो, कुछ चल रहा हो दिमाग में? Okay. When we talk about these theories now, अगर दिमाग में कुछ lame सी भी चीज आ रही है ना, तो just bring it out, because even that lame thing that you think is approaching in your mind, that could be like a big theory of someone's philosophy. Okay. Okay. Now when we talk about Kant now, so basically Kant agreement is different from the traditional proofs of God, right? तो कांट क्या बोलता था कि अगर तुम्हें बेसिकली गॉड को प्रूव करना है, ठीक है, दैट कैन नॉट बी प्रूवन बाय दीस थियोरेटिकल रीजंस, राइट? हाउ यू हैव टू प्रूव इट? यू हैव टू प्रूव इट बाय रीजनिंग, राइट? So moral reasoning क्या लेकर जाएगी? It will lead us to be believe in God, right? So it means morality requires what? It requires belief in God. This is what Kant says. Understood till here? समझ आया? ठीक है? Now Kant believes that human basically possess our moral laws within themselves, right? So he says that two things fill the mind with wonder, ठीक है? And that starry sky above me and the moral laws within me. इसका मतलब क्या है? दोबारा सुनो. What exactly he says? Two things fill the mind with wonder: the starry sky above me and the moral law within me.
Starry sky in the sky is basically is describing to the scenario of the constellations that he sees in the sky. That's a marvelous creation.
Okay.
So he's just amused and astonished by the structures formed by the stars. That might be one. And the concern within me when we talk about that, it is like the way he thinks about the stars. Maybe that is related to that. Maybe that can be the other one.
Sabdu Rishi, what do you think he might be telling to us?
He is actually talking about the complexity of our moral viewpoint as well as the cosmic order that we can see above us. So, in a sense, he is very much shocked, or he is very much interested in these two things. One is the stars above our head, that is the cosmological entities, the stars, the planets, and all that, and the cosmos that we can see above us, as well as the morality in us, in our mind, how our mind works. Because we know that our mind is so complex that it can't be understood. Even today, scientists have failed to understand how our mind works. So, in essence, Kant actually was very much intrigued by these two aspects of reality, our consciousness as well as the physical world that we live in.
Okay. So what he says, the starry sky above me. Okay. So when we look at the star, okay. So we basically, when he basically is talking about star, he's talking about the huge universe, right? So when we look at the night sky, what do we observe? कैसा लगता है देखने के बाद में? Shiny, right? Millions of stars are there, galaxies there, right? This vast universe we are talking about, right? So this makes us feel very small but amazed, right? So it shows the greatness and order of the universe, right? So the outer world is filled with, wonders, right? This is what their first statement is telling to us, right? Then moral law within me. What it says that, he talks about that inner voices basically tells us about the, doing what is right, right? Shinati Bacha, can you mute yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? And don't harm others, right? Do not lie to anyone, right? Respect people, right? So even if no one is watching, we still feel the same thing, that we are wrong, right? So this is how basically he talks about the within ourselves, right? Then basically can't call this moral law with a categorical imperative. Matlab, Srinidhi, what did this line means? This, how did he connect this with the categorical imperative? अभी मैंने आंसर ही दिया, बस मैंने स्टेटमेंट को रिपीट किया है. I explained you the each and everything. I just repeated the statement, just to see that where your mind is present.
Ma'am, I did not understand the question.
I basically whatever I explained to you, did you hear that? जो मैंने पूरा
Yes, ma'am.
explanation दिया है, yet. So
Yes.
what basically he calls this categorical imperative. So what exactly he named this categorical imperative?
I did not understand. You are explaining about the his interest and his wonder about morality within ourselves and the vast
And he
scope.
basically said this moral rule as a categorical imperative, right? So what rule we are talking about in here? Saptarishi?
Yes, ma'am. The rule can be that it can be his maxims as well as the categorical division that he has created in our mind. The 22 categories, I think. Yes, he actually divided our consciousness into many categories, which actually helps us understand the world, which physical world that we live in. So, in a sense, the idea of consciousness and how our mind works is very much understood, according to Kant, can be understood by these categories of imperatives and all that. So
Good.
in a sense, he actually gave three maxims and some rules regarding how our morality works in our society.
Good. So basically, what exactly is telling to us that act in a way that your action could become a basically moral rule for everyone, right? So what exactly is telling to us that before doing anything, ask yourself that what if everyone in this world start doing this? Okay, how will you feel about this, right? So it would, if it would create chaos, right? Then that action is wrong. If it is creating peace and harmony, then that action is right. So this is the ideology that basically a Kant comes up. Okay, समझ आया श्रीनिधि बच्चा?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so Kant basically believed this, that this idea of mind is very incredible, right? Because universe has like laws outside this, right? And humans have more moral laws inside us also, right? So if he felt that if this deeper world is basically connecting this inner world and outer world together, right? Then the order of the universe will be made, है ना? उसके साथ साथ में there will be moral signs of the inside human beings also, ठीक है? अगर outer world और inner world दोनों के दोनों मिल जाते हैं, right? Then this will create the better world together. ठीक है, समझ में आया दोनों?
Yes.
Understood? Is it making sense whatever he said to you?
Related to a connection between the inner world and outer world.
Do you believe that there might be some moral rules that are existing in us? और universal laws तो हैं ही उसके बाद में, right? Okay, so you believe in his theory. Saptarishi, what about you, बच्चा?
So the idea of Kant, that how he says that morality works, it is in a certain way works for the broader aspect. But the idea that there is God who is deciding these moral laws and rules, I don't totally accept that. But how morality works in our society, that is what I believe. That yes, it's true that this is how morality should work in our society. Like the following the moral laws should not be a burden on us. We should accept that because it is our duty to do so, and it is better or it is good for the well-being of the society as a whole. So, in a sense, we should actually do how we should treat people how we want to be treated as. So, this idea of morality, I totally agree with how Kant said.
Okay, Srinidhi, what about you?
Ma'am, the idea about God, I do not agree to. That God gives some universal morality, some moral laws will be there that are accepted and given by everyone, believed by everyone, that I do not accept. Morality is given by society and the way we grow up and we are influenced by those around us and the society gives us our values.
Okay.
And about this morality that we should do our duty and that we should do what we want other people to do. The second point I agree, but the first point I do not completely agree, that we should do what is good for the society or we should do what is what
That
contributes to society.
inner self part.
Yes, ma'am. That we should do what duty tells us to do and what is good for society. This part I don't understand. I don't
Me
agree
too.
to this. I think that moral laws should be such that they do not harm ourselves also. They more something that is moral should not come from complete self denial.
Hmm.
This one
Agree.
point I do not agree in his law of morality.
Debatable. ठीक है. What do you think about it?
Because in the start we discussed that there were some things which do self harm.
Hmm.
So as she told it, morality is something that must be not even self harming.
Hmm.
Along with doing good, it must not harm yourself or oneself. I agree.
ठीक है. Okay. Now, after this, if we talk about Kant's another theory, he basically gave three postulates of practical reasons. ठीक है, जिसमें से पहली वो चीज की बात करते हैं फ्रीडम की. What do you think he might have said about freedom? अब तक उसकी थ्योरी, बेसिक थ्योरी तो समझ में आ गया क्या बोल रहा है. तो क्या बोला होगा उसने?
Everybody has their own idea of morality.
Hmm.
Then they can choose what is good or what is bad.
Okay. So when we talk about Kant, he talks about freedom, that human must be free to choose. Very famous quotation that he have, and we will often use this in essay also. ठीक है? That human must be free to choose their actions, right? If people are not free, तो वो कभी भी morally responsible नहीं आएंगे. Why? From where this theory is coming? Because the second thing that he believed in is what? कि हर किसी के पास में inner belief है, right? Individually they exist, right? So this is exactly why he believes in what? In freedom, right? So if imagine there is a robot, if a robot basically steals money, right? We do not blame the robot, right? But if a human steals, we blame them. Why? Because they chose the action, right? So therefore morality requires what? It requires human freedom. ठीक है? This is why he considered freedom to be very important. ठीक है, समझ में आया यहाँ तक? Then next he talks about is immorality of the soul. क्या बोला होगा immorality of the soul के बारे में?
Universally wrong.
Hmm.
Still, one chooses to do it.
Hmm.
Because they realize that their soul, their soul, their intuitiveness is making them do it. And that is wrong.
Okay,
So
ठीक
that
है.
might lead to immorality.
This could be his theory, but okay, somewhere it is correct. Okay, so exactly what he says, that humans basically strive towards this moral perfection. ठीक है, कि हमें एक perfection की जरूरत है, right? But complete moral perfection that cannot be achieved in one lifetime. This is what Kant says. ठीक है, कि एक जिंदगी में तो तुम कभी achieve नहीं कर सकते हो, right? So therefore, what Kant is telling to us, that soul must continue even after that, so that humans can achieve to that perfection. ठीक है, उन्होंने पहले बोल दिया कि एक लाइफ में नहीं हो पाएगी, इसलिए देयर शुड बी कंटिन्यूएशन ऑफ सोल, राइट? सो मोरालिटी इंप्लाइज व्हाट? इट इंप्लाइज अबाउट द इमोर्टैलिटी ऑफ द सोल. ठीक है, समझ में आया? इमोर्टैलिटी ऑफ द सोल, नहीं इमोर्टैलिटी. ठीक है, समझ में आया यहाँ तक?
This leads to the existence of afterlife.
Afterlife, exactly. And one more important thing, when we talk about philosophy ना, तो जब हम रैशनलिस्ट फिलोसोफर की बात करते हैं, ठीक है, वी हैव टू टाइप्स ऑफ फिलोसफीज. ठीक है, एक तो होता है रैशनलिस्ट, ठीक है, दूसरा होता है हमारे पास में एम्पिरिसिस्ट. ठीक है, व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट रैशनलिस्ट, दीज आर द फिलोसफर्स हु बिलीव्स इन लॉजिक, हु बिलीव्स इन साइंस, हु बिलीव्स इन फैक्ट्स. When we talk about these empiricist philosophers, they believe in senses, right? And when we talk about Kant, na, he is the philosopher who believes in rationalist. Okay, but he is a kind of a philosopher, right, who is believing in afterlife. So this is something that is questionable on his rationality. ठीक है, समझ में आया? Saptarishi, what will you say about Kant's this theory about the soul?
Yes, sir. So basically, what I feel like that what Kant has said that uh, impurity of soul or impurity of the heart is the second level, or basically is a factor of human nature. Like it is the nature within human mind or something like that. Actually, as well as it represents a state where an individual acts in accordance with duty but does not act solely out of duty. So it suggests that our soul, when we are following some moral laws or something like that, if we are burdened to do so, our actions are not totally duty bound. We are
Hmm.
little bit enforced to do so. So in a sense, our soul is impure in this sense. But when we are getting over this idea of burden and do the moral obligation, or fulfill the moral obligations and do our moral duties with
Hmm.
for the betterment of the society without any burden, then only we can fully utilize our fully understand what our soul, our consciousness is, and then our soul can be pure regarding the situation we are in.
ठीक है श्रीनिधि, where are you? Srinidhi. Okay. Anything you want to say to this? He being a rationalist is supporting about the soul concept. What do you want to say about this?
It goes against his idea basically.
Exactly. So most of the ideas which were like supposed to be on the rationalist, right, was supposed to be on the like truth and logic, right? So it's basically going against that. ठीक है. अब अगर हम यही प्रूव नहीं कर सकते तो फिर इसकी जो ऊपर की थ्योरीज है वो सारी गलत हो सकती है. तो this could be used in the criticism also. ठीक है. समझ में आया यहाँ तक? Okay. Now, Kant basically noticed a problem in the real world that often good people suffer and bad people basically succeed, right? So ये तो आज की मर्रा की भी जिंदगी है कि हमारे साथ ही बुरा क्यों होता है, right? So basically, morality suggests that good actions deserves what? Deserves happiness. ठीक है, श्रीनिधि वाला concept है. I don't know where she is. Okay, she here. Okay, so morality basically suggests that good actions what deserves what? It deserves happiness, right? So Kant basically believe करते हैं इस चीज में that virtue and happiness they both should match. Do you believe in this concept कि virtue और happiness दोनों match होने चाहिए?
Happiness comes from the virtue things you do.
Okay, तो मैच होना चाहिए सबका, मतलब जिसका वर्च्यू जैसा है उसको उतनी हैप्पीनेस मिलनी चाहिए. Okay, Srinidhi, do you believe in this theory?
Yes, ma'am. It ought to match that I believe, but in reality it does not match. This also I believe.
Saptarishi?
So what I believe is that in real life this doesn't work like that. I mean, the most virtuous person can be very unhappy with his life, or he may suffer more. But who is not virtuous may actually gain the have may not have to suffer and something like that. That can happen in real life. So we can feel that, we can believe that it is okay for a virtuous person to have peace or stability in life, and the person who is not virtuous should suffer and all that. But in real life, this doesn't happen. This can only happen in an idealistic society. But we know our society is not ideal, and there are many flaws in our society. And this always happens around us. We can see that the most virtuous or a person who actually follows the moral duty is actually suffering, and the person who is actually is not following moral or law and order, actually only thinking about himself and doing doing harm to the society, is actually one who is not suffering and actually gaining in his life. So this happens in real life.
Okay, so when we talk about this ideology, so this perfect harmony is basically known as summum bonum, right? So it means highest good we are talking about. ठीक है, इसका मतलब क्या है? For this to happen, there should be like a supreme moral authority जो basically इन चीजों पर check रख रहा है, right? जो basically ensure कर रहा है that basically justice is given according to what? According to the virtue. हमें क्या मिले? Happiness मिले, right? So this is how he proves the idea of God, right? और authority कौन होगी? वो होगी हमारे पास में God की. ठीक है, समझ में आया कि virtue और happiness के हिसाब से उन्होंने कैसे prove किया? ठीक है, what did you understand from this?
Before moving on to the next bit,
Hmm.
I just want to include one more word:
Hmm.
satisfaction.
Hmm.
Virtue, happiness, and satisfaction. When we're talking about satisfaction, it does not match with happiness.
Hmm.
Because
Agree.
satisfaction is like when you put your action and at the end when you find the result, that is what satisfaction.
Hmm.
Happiness comes from anything. Like even if you do nothing, you will be happy.
That's true. That's very true.
So I think the virtue is much more.
If we are like
important.
defining this satisfaction is the feature of happiness, we can say, right? If we talk about satisfaction, that same goes with the hard work also. Then ठीक है, जितना हम ज्यादा पुट करेंगे हार्ड वर्क, राइट, देन इट दैट हैप्पीनेस वेरीज, ठीक है, और वो अलग अलग हिसाब से आती है, देन द कंसेप्ट ऑफ हैप्पीनेस इज देयर, फिर ठीक है, डिफर्स, सेटिस्फैक्शन भी और फिर उसके बाद हार्ड वर्क भी, देन डोंट यू थिंक इट्स लाइक अ फीचर ऑफ हैप्पीनेस, द सेटिस्फैक्शन? But it makes sense. What you said, it makes sense. Anything else? Okay. To this, do you want to say anything, Srinidhi? It's a good pointer that he made of satisfaction.
Ma'am, he's not audible to me.
So when we talk about the virtue and happiness part of Immanuel Kant, the postulate, so I would like to bring one more word called satisfaction. Like satisfaction is something which is completely different from happiness, I suppose. I mean, I feel, because when we put something in, when we put our work, and then we get the result in final stage, and that gives us satisfaction. But happiness, you can get happiness even without doing nothing. Like you don't have to do something really so tight to get happy. So that's what I tell. So I think virtue should be much more relatively close to satisfaction than happiness.
Yes, ma'am, I completely agree with this point.
Okay.
Satisfaction and virtue, most times I think they match. And satisfaction is part of happiness.
Okay. So this satisfaction is part of happiness, you are saying.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Saptarishi. Is he here?
Yes, ma'am. So yes, ma'am.
How much?
So the point is that yes. So the point is that whatever we are believing that what satisfaction and happiness, it is very much subjective in nature, and it might differ regarding anything. Yes, it's true. Whatever is being said that satisfaction is more toward how when we think about some duty and when we can fulfill that, we actually gain some satisfaction. And but happiness is very much different, and it can happen in any kind of situation. Uh, so it is very much different from the idea of satisfaction. Uh, the happiness idea or happiness is very much different from the idea of satisfaction. But the idea of virtue is, I think, it actually doesn't actually totally go with uh, a, happiness as well as satisfaction. Though I feel like that virtue tends to more towards satisfaction, but the fact remains that the idea of virtue is when we do the right thing. And doing the right thing, doing the virtuous act might be not satisfactory in nature. Sometimes it might hurt some people. So
Okay.
yes, I think that the virtuous act leads towards satisfaction, obviously, but the core aspect remains different.
Okay. So there might be one question coming in your mind ना कि मैम बट रियलिटी में तो ऐसा नहीं होता है ना, क्योंकि हम लोग देखते हैं ऑनेस्ट पर्सन में may suffer because of poverty, right, and that rich person, right, who is a dishonest person, right, is happy, right, so real life में तो ऐसा नहीं होता है. So इसका explanation भी कांड ने दे रखा है, he being a very smart philosopher, what did he say? क्या आंसर दिया था उसने इस चीज के लिए? आफ्टर लाइफ, कि एक लाइफ में तो तुम परफेक्ट नहीं हो सकते हो ना, तो यू नीड एन आफ्टर लाइफ टू दिस, राइट. सो इवन इफ यू आर क्रिटिसाइजिंग हिम ऑन दिस बेसिस कि फिर उसके बाद रियलिटी में तो ऐसा नहीं होता है, तो उसका आंसर उसके पास ऑलरेडी था कि आफ्टर लाइफ है तो उसके लिए, राइट, एज वी कैन नॉट बी परफेक्ट इन वन लाइफ ओनली. ठीक है. सो श्रीनिधि, सप्तऋषि अंडरस्टूड बच्चा?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
So what exactly is telling to us that there must be God in afterlife where moral justice is completed to this. ठीक है. I hope it is understood. कोई कुछ confusion? ठीक है, चलो समरी कौन देगा पहले? हर्षित. ऐसे तो obvious.
So today, as far as we move here, we discussed about the moral argument. So we have seen that humans experience moral duty and moral laws, and So this suggests that for every moral law there must be a moral lawgiver, and we term that moral lawgiver as God. And as every human has moral obligation, and that which comes from the moral law, and this is like basically given by the conscience which is present within us. And also conscience is basically defined as our gut feeling or intuitiveness or the inner self. And next, when we come to the postulates given by Immanuel Kant, so we term them as the three postulates of practical reasons. The first thing is freedom to choose. Like everybody has their own freedom to choose what they do. Like when we think about morality, everybody has their own thoughts about it. So that is the first one. And the second one is immortality of soul. So for whatever actions we do in this present life, some things may be saturated, some things may not be saturated. So the things which are not saturated in this life, for that to get justified of those, there exists afterlife. And so this was given by Immanuel Kant by referring to the afterlife. And thirdly, virtue and happiness. So Kant tells that people must be happy depending upon the virtue or the things they do. I mean, the amount of work they put into things, that is what the amount of happiness they must receive. And the important concept here is summum bonum, which is the ultimate good of act one does. So that's what we have seen till now. And also, there's one more thing: categorical imperative. Categorical imperative is something that categorizing things basically into different clauses, and depending on that, the patterns and all, that tells us about the morality. It basically tells that the concerns of human and the things which are beyond this understanding, beyond the understanding of people, are basically connected. So that's what.
Yes, ma'am. We are discussing the moral argument till now. First, we have seen the basic moral argument, and then we are discussing the idea given by Kant, Immanuel Kant. Immanuel Kant also supported moral argument. For this, it can be expressed by the statement he has given. He said that it is wondrous to see two things are very wondrous. One is the starry sky above us, and one is the morality inside, moral law inside us. He compared these two things. He said that the outside physical world runs on some laws, some universal laws are there according to which our outside physical world runs. And at the same point, at the same time, inside also we have some moral laws. Every human being has some universal moral law inside of us also. And he gave this idea, and then he said that when these two are also connected, when these two are in harmony, then our world we will be peaceful and correct according to him. And he also said that this morality can be decided, this universal morality can be decided categoric, uh, categorically. He also said that we should only do things before we are doing an action. We should also imagine that every other person, every someone else in the world is also doing that. Can we accept that action from someone else? If we can accept this, then only can it be moral. And also our action should consider the overall picture, overall harmony and peace of the society also. We should only do our duty. This he gave the basis of moral law as this. And then he gave three postulates of practical reason.
Hmm.
First one is freedom. He said that humans must have the ability, freedom to choose their actions. Only when there is freedom to choose our actions, only then can we have moral responsibility towards our actions. The second thing he said is that immortality of the soul. He said that our soul is immortal because to we cannot achieve perfection, or we cannot achieve the highest level of moral perfection in one lifetime. So there must be more. And absolute fairness as demanded by morality can't be achieved in one lifetime. So our soul must be immortal, and there must be an afterlife. And he also gave one last postulate, that is summum bonum. He says that morality morality determines the highest person with the highest virtue should get highest happiness. But if we see around us, if you look around us, our world is not like that. Um, Virtue and happiness are not proportional. So there must exist an afterlife. So our soul must be immortal. Only then can there be fairness exist. And some person must be there. Some entity must be there to deliver this absolute fairness, absolute morality, and that person is God.
Good. Saptarishi?
Yes, ma'am. So in this case, we are talking about the ideology of Kant regarding this. So Kant actually said morality requires belief in God, the moral lawgiver. He actually gave a statement in his book Critique of Practical Reason in 1788 and 1787, 88. So in this case, he said that two things make him wonder or actually increase his admiration and awe, which are the starry in heaven above us and the moral law within. So basically, he is saying wonderstruck by the cosmic entity of the wonderfulness or the vastness or the complexity of this our physical world where we live in. And he is very much intrigued by our moral judgment of the minefield of our consciousness that is very much intriguing in nature, according to him. So in this case, he's giving he's giving few ideas how our reasoning works. For this, he actually said he actually emphasizes on freedom, where we can choose our duties and the moral viewpoint that we want to pursue, which he believes that freedom is very much needed for our morality to be ensured. Like he said that the moral duty should not be enforced and shouldn't be felt burden. So he felt that we should follow the moral duties as set up by the society without any burden, without free will for the betterment of the society. Then he gave the idea of immorality of soul, where he said that pure practical reason required for attainment of highest good in this case he is talking about. He argues that because moral law commands us to be perfectly virtuous and what implies can and infinite afterlife must exist to fulfill the duty of the soul. So in a sense, he talks about the ultimate, the highest good that is summum bonum. This is the ultimate and necessary aim of moral action, a state where moral virtue and happiness are proportional. In this case, he talks about this idea of ultimate moral good, the highest good for the betterment of the society, as well as the moral regarding our moral values of human life. So this way, he is actually moving toward proving that we need a moral lawgiver God to actually uh, can maintain our morality in our society.
Okay, good. Till here, is everything making sense to you? Or should I change my question? Is anything making sense to you? Okay. But it might be like, opening the questions, many questions about Kant, right? His philosophy. Like,
Being a rationalist, he
Hmm.
believes in senses.
hmm.
So that's what being contradictory for his arguments.
Okay. ठीक है. Apart from that, anything
That
else?
is one of it.
Hmm.
Also, I don't agree with the virtue and happiness one.
Because, you gave reason to that. That also makes sense. Good. Anything else, Srinidhi, Saptarishi, that's coming in your mind after like reading his philosophy? हाँ बच्चा?
Uh, yes, sir. So what I feel like that he actually his emphasis is more on the practicality of morality, not on theoretical aspect. He actually wants to express through his ideas that how morality works in our society, not only in theory or in books. He actually talks about how we should actually participate in our society, how we should maintain ourselves regarding respecting others and getting respect in return. So, in a sense, he is talking about how morality actually works in society. And in Maxims also actually talks about this. His maxim of age, the maximum of universality, as well as maximum of humanity is actually also on this line. How we should practically utilize the morality in us, in our mind.
True. Okay. Now we are going to understand about the concept of God through Indian philosophy. ठीक है, दो तीन concepts पढ़ेंगे that exactly how did they went through the idea of God, right, so that we can have the overview. ठीक है, okay. अब जब हम यहाँ पे बात करेंगे ना, ठीक है, तो और दिमाग खुलेगा तुम्हारा. ठीक है, now when we talk about Nyaya philosophy, ठीक है, very important Indian school of philosophy, right, so it supports what? It supports God's existence, right, so it's basically tried to prove the existence of God using logic and reasoning. ठीक है, now they too have like told us कि logic and reasoning is there, but that we are going to understand कि logic reasoning है उसमें या नहीं. ठीक है, now when we talk about Nyaya philosophers, they said that universe cannot exist without an intelligent cause. ठीक है, अब therefore there must be a supreme intelligent creator also. ठीक है, that is known as Ishvara. ठीक है, इसके through इन्होंने basically this Nyaya philosophy try to explain the concept of God, right, so they do not depend only on faith. ठीक है, they try to prove the idea of God by using inference. ठीक है, when we talk about inference, it is in Hindi, in Sanskrit it is known as Anumana. ठीक है, inference कैसे किया होगा? inference से वही वाला inference है जो हम लोग यूज करते हैं किसी चीज को infer करके. How do you think? नहीं आ रहा दिमाग में? कोई नहीं, विल डिस्कस. ओके, नाउ पहले हम लोग समझेंगे आर्गुमेंट फ्रॉम द कॉजेशन. ठीक है, जिसे वेस्टर्न में प्रूव करा था, सेम इनका भी कंसेप्ट है. Shrinidhi, how did they prove about the argument from causation about the existence of God? कैसे किया था?
Yes.
न्याय
We
आर्गुमेंट
have.
में.
I do not know how they argue in Nyaya, but general argument on causation is that everything must have a cause for its existence, and if we go on with this cycle cannot be infinite. So there must exist a first cause, which did not have any cause and which do not depend on anything. So this first cause must be God.
Okay. So when we talk about Nyaya philosophy, what it says that everything is created, right? So it means there is a cause. ठीक है. Now, sorry, if this is created, so it means we have effect. Sorry. ठीक है, अब अगर हमारे पास में इफेक्ट इज देयर दैट एवरीथिंग इज क्रिएटेड, राइट, तो अगर हमारे पास में इफेक्ट तो इट मींस कॉज भी होगा इसके साथ में. ठीक है, नाउ इफ दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट कॉज, राइट, सो इट मींस देयर इज अ गॉड एज वेल. ठीक है, एग्जैक्टली कैसे? इमेजिन करो देयर इज अ पॉट, राइट, अब अगर पॉट है हमारे पास में तो इट इज मेड बाय पॉटर, राइट, एंड सेम गोज विद हाउस आल्सो, राइट, इफ देयर इज अ हाउस तो मतलब आर्किटेक्ट भी होगा, राइट, सेम गोज विद बुक आल्सो, अगर किसी ने बेसिकली बुक हमारे पास में है तो मतलब किसी ने लिखी हुई है तो देयर इज अ राइटर आल्सो, राइट. तो सिमिलरली यूनिवर्स आल्सो एग्जिस्ट इन एन इफेक्ट, राइट, अगर हमारे पास में इफेक्ट है तो इसका मतलब उसके पास में कॉज भी है, राइट. So Nyaya philosophy basically talks about that world is basically made of many parts. Srinidhi बच्चे, can you mute yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. और अब जब हम बात कर रहे हैं कि यूनिवर्स जो है, राइट, फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट दैट न्याय गिव्स टू अस इज दैट इट हैव लाइक मेनी पार्ट्स, राइट. अगर हमारे पास में बहुत सारे पार्ट्स हैं तो इट मींस व्हाट? सो देयर मस्ट बी अ मेकर आल्सो. ठीक है, किसी ने तो इन सारे पार्ट्स को बनाया ही होगा, राइट. सो व्हाट इट सेज, देयर मस्ट बी अ मेकर एज वेल, राइट. सो द कॉज ऑफ द यूनिवर्स मस्ट बी हु? इट मस्ट बी ईश्वरा, इट मस्ट बी गॉड. ठीक है, समझ में आया?
Basically like
The cause and effect theory that we have read. हाँ, exactly. But Nyaya philosophy comes before. ठीक है, ये वाली philosophy comes before than the Western philosopher that the theory they gave to us. ठीक है. Now, after this argument from combination of atoms, कभी सोचा था इंडियन philosophy में भी एटम्स की बात होगी? कैसे प्रूव किया होगा इन्होंने बच्चे?
how things are formed by the combination of atoms and molecules. The same way for the prime postulates, I mean, for all the radial causes, they must take this in a prime cause.
Okay, ठीक है, make sense. देखो, तो न्याय philosophy believed in this thing कि हमारा जो world है is made of atoms. ठीक है, they believed in this theory, right, जिसको हम लोग बोलते हैं एटम्स को अनुमाना, सॉरी परमाणु. ठीक है, कि ठीक है हमारे पास में एग्जिस्ट करती हैं, ठीक है, एटम्स की थ्योरी, राइट, बट एटम्स आर वेरी इनएक्टिव एंड दे आर व्हाट? दे आर अनकॉन्शियस. सेम गोज विद एटम आल्सो इन द इंडियन फिलॉसफी में. हाँ, नो, इट्स परमाणु आल्सो ना, एटम्स. ठीक है, अगर हम बात करें तो what they say that it is inactive and it is unconscious. ठीक है, what do you think they might be telling to us with this inactive and unconscious? एक सिंपल थिंग्स और कॉम्प्लेक्स थिंग्स का थ्योरी है ना, कनेक्ट करके देखो इसमें, इफ यू कैन कनेक्ट इट.
Like how the world is made up of atoms.
And Nyaya says that they are inactive and they are unconscious. ठीक है, now what exactly they are telling to us, क्योंकि वो inactive और unconscious है, इसका मतलब वो खुद से organize नहीं कर सकती है complex things में, right? So if they cannot organize themselves, exactly. ठीक है, so to organize themselves into this complex things. ठीक है, तो atoms की अगर हम बात करें, mountains, rivers, plants, ठीक है, human bodies, right? But atoms themselves cannot think or they cannot plan themselves, right? So Nyaya philosophy asks this question that how did atoms combine in such organized manners? ठीक है, अगर हम यूनिवर्स को देखते हैं, right, everything is organized, everything have like a structure, और वो structure इतना ज्यादा complex है, खुद से तो organize नहीं कर सकते हैं, right? So they answer there must be an intelligent force basically who is directing the atoms, right? And that force is who? That force is we have God. समझ आया? श्रीनिधि बच्चा अंडरस्टूड सप्तऋषि?
Yes.
So far do you agree with this theory? How are you feeling after understanding this theory? कैसा लग रहा है सुनकर?
It just sounds like the combination of cosmological and teleological. Teleological, that's what they said that there must be the order. Watchmaker, for example, when we consider watchmaker.
Okay.
And cosmological is like based on cause.
ठीक है. Now there is another that Nyaya philosophy basically uses about the understanding of through teleological. ठीक है, teleological में कौन सा वाला था? Design and order वाला. ठीक है, अब exactly what Nyaya philosophy is basically telling to us कि universe is what it is orderly, right? So planets have like move in regular orbits, seasons जो है regularly आते हैं, right? So Nyaya philosophy basically asks us that such order cannot come from a random choice. ठीक है, ऐसे तो नहीं है कि एकदम से ही आ गया, right? इसके लिए हमें किसकी जरूरत है? इंटेलिजेंट डिजाइनर की जरूरत है, right? And that designer is who? That designer we have is God, right? मतलब वॉच देखो, कंप्यूटर देखो तो तुम्हें दिखेगा कि someone have like designed it, right? So universe is even more complex, right? तो इसके लिए तो डिजाइनर की जरूरत पड़ेगी ही पड़ेगी. ठीक है, तो दे कॉल दिस डिजाइनर टू बी अ गॉड. ठीक है, सिंपल बाय टेलियोलॉजिकल थ्योरी. ठीक है, देन आफ्टर दिस आर्गुमेंट फ्रॉम मोरल ऑर्डर. ठीक है, नाउ व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट मोरल ऑर्डर, हियर दे आर बेसिकली टेलिंग अस अबाउट द कर्मा थ्योरी. हाउ डू यू थिंक दे हैव लाइक एक्सप्लेन दिस?
For every action we do, there's a reaction for it. And this action and reaction, I mean, this reaction won't come by itself. It's like it's been used by some being or some creature, some designer. So, and that designer may be God.
Okay. Saptarishi, how will you explain this karma theory of Nyaya?
Yes, ma'am. So basically, Nyaya, the word itself comes from a Sanskrit term that means justice. So in a sense, uh, according to Nyaya philosophy, God is merciful and He is eternal. He is omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent, who is all powerful, supreme maintainer, who looks over moral justice according to the deeds we perform. So in a sense, God maintains social order or ratha, which implies what we should do and what we should not do. And according to that, God delivers justice because He is merciful, who does good, gets virtuous, a good consequence, and who does bad, actually is punished by God. This is the basic idea of Nyaya.
Okay, Srinidhi.
Yes, ma'am. We are discussing the Nyaya theory. They gave proof for God through reason and logic only. They gave arguments based on causation and also design. The basic theory is that they believe that everything is created, thus everything has a cause, and also that in our universe there are many parts. There are many different things that are existing. all these should have a creator. So this creator is Ishvara. And there is also an argument from atoms. Uh, Nyaya school of philosophy believes that everything is made of atoms or parmanu. But these parmanu are inactive and unconscious, so they cannot align themselves and into complex and organized entities. So there must be an intelligent force directing them to aligning into these complex things. This intelligent being is God. This argument also comes under teleological argument because they are believing that these complex and organized matter cannot come by itself. There must be some designer who's making this all these entities align. So the designer is God. So, Nyaya school of philosophy gives argument which is both based on causation and also logical argument.
Okay, ठीक है. Now, when we talk about this karma theory, so Nyaya philosophers also believed in karma, right? So it means that every action is going to produce a result. ठीक है, अच्छे के साथ अच्छा होगा, बुरे के साथ में बुरा होगा, right? But Nyaya philosophers basically ask this question that who is going to ensure that this karma is working properly, right? So, for example, a person may do good deeds today, right? But is suffering in this life, right? So how does this justice is happening, right? So Nyaya basically these thinkers argued that there must be a supreme judge who gives the correct result of these actions, right? And that judges who? That judges God we have, right? So basically अगर तुम्हें इस लाइफ में नहीं मिल रहा है तो आफ्टर लाइफ में तुम्हारा रिजल्ट मिलेगा, and that is basically ensured by who? That is ensured by this God. ठीक है, this is the karma theory that we have of न्याय. ठीक है, समझ में आया? Okay, after this we have the another argument, authority of Vedas. ठीक है, न्याय फिलोसफी वेदास के थ्रू समझाती है. So what it explains to us कि वेदा कंटेन्स वेरी डीप नॉलेज. ठीक है, बहुत अच्छी मोरल टीचिंग्स लेकर चलती हैं. ठीक है, लेकिन ऐसी परफेक्ट नॉलेज जो आती है हमारी हमेशा कहाँ से आएगी? परफेक्ट सोर्स से आएगी. श्रीनिधि बच्चों म्यूट से. ठीक है, इट कम्स फ्रॉम द परफेक्ट सोर्स ओनली. ठीक है, नाउ व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट वेदास, वेदास आर कंसीडर्ड टू बी वेरी प्योर एंड काइंड्स ऑफ रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस जो ह्यूमन नॉलेज के परे है, राइट? So it is considered कि that cannot be written by God, sorry, humans, right? It is written by God, right? So this is exactly what Nyaya philosophy says, that this is this came from the perfect source, right? And this perfect source that we have is God, right? This is a book that contains very advanced knowledge, right? जो कि यहाँ पे कंसीडर किया जाता है कि कोई इंटेलिजेंट ऑथर ही है जो लिख रहा है इस स्टोरी को, राइट? सो दिस विजन ऑफ वेदास बेसिकली सजेस्ट अस दैट देयर इज अ डिवाइन राइटर अमंग अस. ठीक है, और इस डिवाइन राइटर का नाम क्या है? दैट इज गॉड वी हैव. ठीक है, समझ आया यहाँ तक? ठीक है, दिस इज द न्याय फिलोसफी दैट वी हैव. अब उसके बाद में लैंग्वेज, आर्ग्यूमेंट फ्रॉम लैंग्वेज. ठीक है, तो लैंग्वेज के बेसिस पर क्या बोलता है ये? दैट वर्ड्स हैव मीनिंग्स, है ना? हर एक वर्ड का एक मीनिंग होता है, राइट? व्हेन समवन इज सेइंग ट्री, राइट? सो वी अंडरस्टैंड द ऑब्जेक्ट, राइट? सो basically this question comes up that who originally is connecting this idea of word and meaning, right? ये हम तो नहीं कर सकते हैं, right? So न्याय philosophy basically tells to us that this connection must have established by God itself. ठीक है, ये जो connection है word का और this object का, this is connected by God. ठीक है, तो इन सारे ही basis पे न्याय basically tries to prove the concept of God. ठीक है, समझ में आया? Okay. ओके, नाउ देयर इज अनदर कंसेप्ट जिसका नाम है क्रिएशन, डिस्ट्रक्शन और बेसिकली प्रिजर्वेशन. ठीक है, अब यूनिवर्स जो है इन्हीं साइकिल में चलता है, एक क्रिएशन के उसमें, प्रिजर्वेशन के उसमें, और उसके बाद थर्ड है डिस्ट्रक्शन. ठीक है, तो ऐसा कॉम्प्लेक्स प्रोसीजर जो है ऐसा रेंडमली तो नहीं आ सकता है. दिस इज द थ्योरी दैट कम्स अप, राइट? सो बेसिकली व्हाट न्याय सेज दैट देयर मस्ट बी अ सुप्रीम कंट्रोलर, राइट? जो कि क्रिएट कर रहा है यूनिवर्स को, मेंटेन भी कर रहा है और मेंटेन करने के बाद में क्या कर रहा है? डिसॉल्व भी कर रहा है, राइट? तो ये जो तीनों ही स्ट्रक्चर है दैट इज बेसिकली डन बाय अ डिवाइन अथॉरिटी. एंड हु इज दैट अथॉरिटी? दैट अथॉरिटी दैट वी हैव इज गॉड. ठीक है, समझ में आया? कंट्रोलर कौन है? कंट्रोलर हमारे पास में गॉड. अंडरस्टूड टिल हियर? चलो, विद दिस वी एंड आवर टुडेस क्लास. ठीक है, वी आर ओनली लेफ्ट विद दिस क्रिटिसिज्म. कल से ही नया टॉपिक भी शुरू कर देंगे. ठीक है, अंडरस्टूड?
यस सर.
ओके, थैंक यू.
थैंक यू.
थैंक यू बच्चों.